What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jay Charles at Sock Money Racing. Today I want to talk about my drift chassis. As you can see, my shell is a 1/10 1970 Chevy Chevelle SS. It's from the brand Kyosho. They did a really good job at replicating this vehicle. I really like it. This was actually my very first shell that I've ever owned, like ever. And so as you can see, it's seen better days. It's been through a lot. What I liked about it was that the kit that it came with was very detailed. It was a highly detailed kit with light buckets. It had all the stickers for the SS emblems. It had two different stripes. You can use the white stripes or the black stripes. It had the side mirrors, which I don't use for my drifting. I do plan on putting them back on just for the look, the detailed look. And so another thing I like about this body is that it's hard plastic compared to any other shell I've ever owned. The plastic they use on this is a lot tougher. It could also be due to the rigid shape of this car. You know, they don't make them like they used to. But yeah, this car is taking a beating. I can hit a wall and I'm not afraid of my electronics getting damaged because this body is very rigid plastic. And so currently I got them mounted with body posts, which I plan to shave off, but I'm pondering, I'm waiting on it because when I do get another shell just like this to repaint, I'm considering going stealth mounts. And so the only thing that I didn't like about this body is that the Kyosho makes it longer than your standard 1/10 touring or drift car. And so it's a little bit longer. Therefore, it took a little bit of modification of the rear wheel well to make it fit right. And so I've done a bit of modification to this body so far. I don't know if you can see because I went with black because black is an easy color to paint. You can't see that many mistakes, and this was my first body painting ever. But you can see I added a front bumper lip to it to give it that I would say that racing look, more of a racing look than a street look. Let me show you guys. I'm currently working on some over fenders for the rear to get that wheel well back in line. Like I say, Kyosho's body for the 1970 Chevelle is a little bit longer than your standard drift car body, touring body, etc. So they don't really sell over fenders, and so what I did was I went to Office Depot, got me a plastic folder that with, you know, light material that's easy to work with. I got some paper that's as clear as possible, traced the body that the Chevelle came with as best as I can, and I'll just cut it out, put it on there with tape, just mount it and just trim it as close as possible to the Chevelle body. You know, I'm currently satisfied with it. It's being held on by tape because I'm still trimming it, but I plan to completely glue it on. And so you can see back here as well, I'm working on a rear spoiler, something that's not godly, you know, that'll still give that Chevelle that nice classy look. It's not, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, for lack of better terms, I'm not trying to rice it out. But I really was impressed with this kit when I first got it. See, you can see the chrome is starting to come back in the back because these bumpers come originally chrome, but I wanted a blacked out look, like a Knight Rider type of look. And so yeah, this is my touring chassis, and that's the body right there. So next, let me show you the actual mechanics of the chassis. So this chassis was a Charisma M40S. It was a touring chassis. A lot of people told me, hey, you know, you're gonna spend a lot of money trying to convert a touring chassis into a drift chassis, but I got this for free. So I got it from my brother-in-law. He was getting out of the hobby, and I gave him some tools, and he gave me some RC cars. It was a fair trade. And so yeah, so I got it for free. And the first thing I realized is that it was a very simple design, and I liked how simple the Charisma chassis was. And so that simplicity allowed me to change things around the way I wanted it. First thing I did was I bought some drift wheels, you know, just so I can test it out. That's back when it was still all-wheel drive. It wasn't too bad. Drifting all-wheel drive, I picked it up pretty quick. Honestly, it got boring. It was just too easy. And so the next thing I did was I converted it to rear-wheel drive because of that. And so that also involved locking the rear diff, because it doesn't use a spool, it uses a differential. So I locked it with silly putty. It was easy, but it was very effective. The next thing I did was I changed the weight distribution, because at first this came with the battery on this side and the motor on this side. They didn't weigh the same, and so it'd be unpredictable when you're drifting left and right. And the first thing I did was I mounted the motor up front to get all the way towards the center. This made the vehicle have way less traction in the rear. Therefore, I took the battery, mounted that also in the middle, but more towards the rear. Because if you know about drifting, you know that RC drifting, rear weight gives you more traction. And so this chassis actually handles very, very well for it to have been handmade. I don't have a 3D printer. I'm not an engineer. I'm just a guy with an imagination, and I don't mind getting my hands dirty. Oh, you know, I do wear gloves, but most of the time I don't. But so my plans for this, meaning like the limitations I've ran into, is steering angle. And so I've increased the steering angle from stock by trimming things and adding stoppers. But I've seen, when I go out to drift with other people who have purpose-built drift chassis, I've seen that they have huge steering angles that really saves them, meaning they don't need as much skills to keep a drift going and to get that maximum angle. Because if you're drifting with tandem with somebody and they can get more angle than you, you know, it's gonna throw you off. And so the next thing I want to do to this is I want to add a softer suspension to it. Currently I'm running the touring suspension, the stock suspension, and they came pretty stiff. They worked well with the high grip touring tires, but with these lower grip drift tires, a lighter suspension system would transfer more weight and more grip to where you need it. And so one of the last things I'm considering doing to this is going with a higher RPM motor. Now, I actually love brush motors. They're simple, they're cheap. This motor came out of my power drill, and it's outlasted my Traxxas motor that I bought. It's outlasted the Charisma motor that it came with. It's outlasted several motors that I went and bought off the shelf, spent $30, $40 on, you know, ordered off Amazon. This motor, I got the drill from the thrift store for $3 on sale. And I took the motor out of it, slapped it on here, and it's been running strong for over a year now. I would say going on 2 years. It doesn't overheat, and it doesn't kick my ESC's butt, and it gets the job done. However, I'm starting to see that I need a little bit more RPM if I'm gonna hang out with the guys that are running brushless. And so this one's fun to play with, but if you're, drifting tandem with other people, you might run into that issue. So that's what I plan to do with it. Anyways, thanks for watching. Once again, it's your boy J Charles at Sock Money Racing, where we love to drift, we love to rock crawl, we love to do touring, and we love to talk about it. And so check me out.